me, that's warm. Yes, we're gonna get stuck somewhere on the M6. The headlights are non-existent. Right, I've had to stop again. We've found the issue, and it's quite a large one. Absolutely nothing when you turn the key. Rubbish. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Laurence and the Machine, the show where we take cars where cars distinctly aren't meant to go. Now, when people ask me what I do at the weekend, I find it really hard to explain it to them because it ranges from this, there we go, to this, the wheel bearing is f***ed, and even to this. And as you can see, they're all exactly the same. Getting stuck in Land Rovers, breaking cars, generally messing about. But I still find it hard to explain it to them. You say, I'd need to film it to show you what goes on. So that's exactly what we're gonna go and do. And for our first trip, we're gonna go to Wales, because it's not that far from my house. Right then, before we go anywhere, we do need to check a couple of things, namely where we're going and whether where we're going is actually open. And for that, we've got Trailwise, which is open on here. Trailwise is an app that shows you all the green lanes in the UK, whether they're open, whether they've got big obstacles on them, and whether you can do them at this time of year. So I've had a look at some lanes in the north of Wales, and then basically what we'll do, we'll just work our way down and see how far we get, basically. See when we break down. Now, to guide us around the routes and lanes of Wales, we have this other PC, which is my PC, which is a very small laptop. Some of you might remember them. But what's important about this, it shows us all of the lanes that we've ever sort of done, and we've written notes about them. It's all very boring, really. But what it means is we can sort of click on one of them and say, right, I want to go to there, and it will just take us there. So we'll take this in the car with us. We've got a GPS that plugs into this so that it knows where it is. Basically we just click on a flag and it takes us to it. You might notice I'm talking quite quickly, and it's because I've got to go and put the tent on before we go, and there's no one here to help me. We are actually against the clock now because I wanted to arrive and set up our camping station before it went dark. In fact, I've not even set off before it's gone dark, and I've got to put the tent on by myself. I've got to get all the other stuff and then actually drive there, and it's about a 3.5 hour drive, so let's get going. I set out for the very first time on the frankly epic journey from my house in the north of England to the camp that I'd organised that night in the north of Wales. Right then, thanks to my ever organised self, we've finally set off. It's just gone 8 on a Friday night and we're on the way to Wales. Now, a couple of problems so far. One is that there's been a crash on the M56. So we're going somewhere through Northwich on the way there, so it's going to take us a long time to get there. The sat-nav's currently saying 3.5 hours. And the second issue that we have is that the battery light keeps blinking on and off. And actually, when I first started the car up, battery light didn't go off for a good while. And for those non-mechanically minded people, when the battery light's on, the battery isn't being charged. And if the alternator isn't charging the battery, then the fuel pump won't run, the winch won't run, the starter motor won't start the engine. So if the problem gets any worse, we might not be getting home.
Little did I know, just 20 minutes later...
Right, well, this is the issue that I was talking about before, and I'm going to try and capture it for you in the crudest of ways by sticking a GoPro in there. So that battery light, the engine's running now, but it keeps flickering on and off. which means the alternator isn't charging. Now, if you look at these are the batteries, and they should be saying something like 13.5, and they're just not. Rubbish. Me, that's warm. Right, now let's see if it's working now. For sake. It is charging slightly. Right, sit rep. The battery light is now on permanently, and the batteries are discharging. So what I'm going to do is turn around and go home. Hopefully we'll make it back, but if I don't, then we'll have to come and get someone to rescue us.
Having made it to just past Northwich, I decided that being on a motorway wasn't the best idea, so I headed up the back roads towards home.
It's now 9:30 at night, and yeah, I've just nipped to my mate's house and taken the battery off his car. Yes, we're going to get stuck somewhere on the M6 so that when these batteries discharge so much, we've got another one to discharge. And the batteries, one of them is on 11.5 volts and the other one is on 11.6 volts. So stuff's going to start going off soon. The headlights are already incredibly dim. So yeah, we'll see how far we get. We have now got 9 volts in each battery, and the gearbox doesn't have enough battery to function, so we're now stuck in 4th gear. We have 51 minutes left to drive, and the headlights are non-existent. We've had to turn everything off. My phone's running out of battery. Yeah. This trip's really gone well. Okay, so we did get home last night, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. The headlights were not working. The gearbox didn't know what to do with itself. I took the battery out last night and charged it up, and we made it to the garage this morning. So we're going to change the alternator and then get back on the road. Yes. Good. That's what I wanted to happen. Here's the problem. Doesn't even sound that bad. The common problem with these BMW engines, the leaks will let ATF out, and it all goes into the alternator, which is beneath it. And then when we go through mud, all the oil collects and sticks to the mud, and it all goes in the alternator and makes them stop working. Rubbish. Moment of truth. Yes, we win! We win again!
With the alternator fixed, I set off towards the same destination I was headed to the previous night. But because nothing interesting happened on this journey, we pick up the action the next morning.
Well, good morning. We made it last night. We ended up being really dark and miserable by the time we got here, so I basically just set up the tent and went to bed. It was really, really cold last night, even with a heated sleeping bag on. But we did make it, and we've made it through the night. And what a place we've camped in. The first job for today is to go shopping, because whilst the leftover beans and sausage was alright last night, it didn't really fill the hole, so I need something better for tonight. Obviously the first job is get this bloody tent down. Let's get going. Let's go. Actually a really, really long way in this one. The only problem with it, it's got many, many gates on it. Really? There we go. We're onto a road again. So now we're on the move, I best tell you a bit about this car that we're in. So to anyone else, it's just like a standard Discovery 2 with some big wheels and a lift on it. But there's quite a few more modifications than meets the eye. We've got the shelf in the boot, which I think you can just about see. That's to put like stuff like coats on and stuff like that. Stuff that takes up a lot of room on the boot floor that it just doesn't need to. Hung inside that, we've got a subwoofer and we've got the inverter. So I have got 230 volts in the car. I have removed the back seats just because I never really use them and they're really, really heavy. So, you know, it's a no-brainer to just take them out. And it gives me a bit of extra boot space. And then we move to the outside and we've got the obvious stuff like the roof rack, the lights, the big wheels, 2-inch lift. We've also got some fog shocks on there just to keep it a bit more stable. And then when you look under the bonnet, it's not a TD5 or a V8 that you usually get in one of these things. It's actually a 3-litre diesel out of a BMW X5. And that means that this car produces 270 brake horsepower. The first lane we're going to go and do is a lane that anyone who's even heard the word green laning has done. Strata, Florida. And it's an interesting lane because it's a bit boring really. There's only one interesting bit of it, but everyone seems to flock to it, so let's go and do it. Now there's one rule when you're going green laning, and that's to never ever go by yourself. But just to add a bit of extra danger, I am going to go by myself, and whatever situation I get into, whether I break down or get stuck, I've got to get out of myself. And you think, oh well, you know, if you break down, you just get the AA to come and sort you out and take you home. But unfortunately, when you're on a green lane, there's not really much a recovery service can do. I mean, they can't get their vans down where we can get these. So you've at least got to get the car back to tarmac for them to do anything.
With my new fears realised, I continued the 2.5-hour journey towards the Strata, Florida.
There we go. And we're done. This is my new method of seeing where we're going. We've found the issue, and it's quite a large one. We're in exactly the same situation as the other day, except now we are a lot further away from home. Absolutely nothing when you turn the key. Rubbish.